Good morning. This is Race Day. I'm Rob D'Amico alongside my co-host Michele Rahal, joining me from Florida. And actually, you guys got the race down there. We got Indycar, we got
We do.
NASCAR at California, we got some F1 news, we had some Andretti big news come out this week that we're going to talk about as well. Don't forget, you can go to our website racedaynation.com and get all the podcasts. We have about 8 podcasts up there, news feeds from motorsport, J Ski, Racer. They're all up there. So it's kind of your one-stop shopping, if you will. And you can also sign up for our newsletter that we have. We're collecting the data so we can get you guys the latest news and rumors. To get kicked off today, I want to go back to last week. Obviously, the Daytona 500. We were kind of on race day morning talking about that. And real quick, before we do get started here, we are doing this show once again. We started it last week. We wanted to be in the 2022 season. So we started with NASCAR, and we'll be talking about everything from F1, IndyCar, NASCAR, IMSA, you name it. We got it covered here on the show, just like we did when we did Race Day on Fox. What we've done is taken a decade hiatus, if you will, and we're back now and we're doing it all over again and having a good time doing it. As you can see, we're, with the times like we were back then, a little ahead of our time. We were doing this video stuff way back then.
We're like the Eagles, man. We never broke up. We
That's
just
right.
took a vacation.
That's right. A
A
long ass vacation.
long vacation.
But hey, well worth it. And we're here now and we're,
Indeed.
we're talking racing. So we're going to get kicked off. We're going to talk about, I think the big thing was last week with Daytona, with Austin Cindric getting the victory lane. The kid was amazing, man. It was like, he had the car, put it in the right spot, knew what to do, exactly when to do it. Worked with friends, did not work with friends. It was one of those things. But this is a kid who's a rookie, and he kind of gets blasted sometimes about having the silver spoon in his mouth because of who his dad is, obviously, with the Cindric name,
But they
Penske.
all are now. Let's face it. They all are. Look at
That's true.
Montoya and his kid Sebastian. Look at Schumacher. I mean, it just goes on and on. It's no different than it was 70 years ago. It's zero difference. It's still one of those sports where when you're born into it, you have a better chance of making it than the average Joe that really wants to go racing. Unless that person, that average Joe, has a lot of talent and wheelbarrows full of money. It's
Yeah.
as simple as that.
Yeah, and it doesn't listen. And where they're saying this is that, and listen, it's not fair. Like you said,
No,
most of
it's
these
not.
kids that come up through racing obviously have some money. There's very rarely a company that says, you know what, we're going to follow this kid all the way through.
Yeah.
But there are some examples of that too. But most of them come with money, and that's the reason that they're sitting there. And listen, we've said this back on Race Day on Fox way back in the day that there are thousands of people who never get the opportunity because of the money situation that are probably out there better than some of these people that are racing today.
There are kids sitting on a sofa in Harlem that could be multiple world champions. They'll never get the chance. But and one thing about Cindric, uh, St. Pete, 12 years ago, something like that, I interviewed Tim, his dad,
Yep.
and it was my cousin Bob that gave Tim his first shot as an engineer. So, in a roundabout way, that whole thing began with Tim as an engineer and getting a break from my cousin, and then performing so well, ridiculously well, that with Penske, that now his son his son Austin. No, it's not Austin. What is it?
Yeah, it's Austin.
It's Austin. Yeah, there's too many Austins out there. Okay, at least there aren't too many Custers.
Yeah.
Cole Custer.
Yeah.
That's the perfect NASCAR name. Let's not kid ourselves.
Oh yeah. So yesterday, obviously, you're talking about the Xfinity race. Cole
Yeah.
Custer was your guy that made it the victory. And listen, he dominated the race. He should have been there. Noah Gregson was second. Trevor Bayne, who basically got off the couch and came back racing, finished third. Josh Berry, this is a guy that I think you need to keep an eye on racing for Junior Motorsports. Anthony Alfredo, another guy. He didn't have the car yesterday, but man, he played some strategy that was on point. Basically, what he did was he said, you know what? Well, I say not him. His crew chief said, you know what we're going to do? We're saving a set of tires to the very end, and that's what they did. They were up in the front on the second to last restart, pushed all the way back. Late caution came out like they were hoping. They put the fresh tires on and came up through the field and finished in the top 5.
It's now known as the Bahrain strategy,
Yeah,
Abu Dhabi strategy. I'm sorry.
yeah.
It's
So
the
it worked.
Verstappen Hamilton strategy.
So to finish the top 10, it was Sam Mayer, AJ Allmendinger, Justin Allgaier, Riley Herbst, and Ryan Sieg. Congratulations to Ryan Sieg, a top 10 there. Well deserved. That small team doing it big time there, which is kind of nice to see. But these guys, I got to tell you, man, they put on an okay show. I mean, it's California. Everybody's talking about California and how the track is. Well, first of all, they were supposed to change the track to a short track. Hasn't done that yet. We're kind of waiting to see what happens there. I can't wait. I'd love to see it change. We've talked about this before with racetracks like Atlanta. Change the configuration a little bit. Do something different there. They changed the banking. It's still a mile and a half. It's pretty much in the same footprint, but there's higher banking, a little more higher speeds that'll happen there. So it will change, and it's fresh pavement in Atlanta. So now everybody's saying that California is that track that you have to be a driver to drive this thing because the tires wear out so
Obviously,
much.
from what happened in practice and in
Oh my gosh.
qualifying, wow. I mean, Cindric to be able to hold it together against those veterans. Everybody was spinning, it seems like, in the same place, which was entry to pit road. And popping a tire is what one of the drivers had referred to as he spun coming into pit road. But, I'm not quite sure what that actually means. Did he drop a tire? Did a tire actually, blow on him? Or is it because of the difference in the resin on the track, the new track versus pit lane that maybe didn't get that? I honestly don't know.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. So we had Cindric from last week talking about his win. I want to play this video. This is from the press box.
I mean, it means a lot to me because this sport, my career, what I get to do for a living is all I want. And to see so many people take joy from the things that I love, it's very gratifying. But from that standpoint, I tried to let myself smell the roses today, and I never did. It's just not who I am. I'm way too competitive. I know how much is at stake and how much work I've put in to really pay attention to it. Like I said, I'm not externally motivated or intimidated. It's just part of the process. But I think it says a lot about our sport. To your point about a lot of races under COVID over the last 2 years. The funny thing is, a lot of my success in the Xfinity Series, especially in 2020, came in an incubator. And when we got fans back at the racetrack, all of a sudden everybody knew who I was. And that was really, really weird for me. And I had to actually leave time to go places. And I still consider myself a nobody, but even walking through the garage, I mean, I'm not Kyle Busch, I'm not Joey Logano, but I guess I'm tall and somewhat recognizable, but otherwise it's definitely a new experience for me. And but like I said, to have what means the world to me, make so many people, bring so many people so much joy, it makes my job pretty gratifying.
Was it me or was it funny that when he was talking, the ring kept coming up in the? It was
Yeah, they did. I noticed that. Here it is.
You gotta love it.
Look
Man.
at this.
The kid enjoyed it. He had a blast. He obviously won. He's in the playoffs, and here he is talking about being in the playoffs right now.
Good. Feels good. I mean, I thought you were going to have to win a race to get in the playoffs this year, and we're in the playoffs. We're in the All-Star race. I can't tell you the last year the two-car hasn't won a race, so I'd say that's a little bit of weight off the shoulders there. But I know there's going to be a lot of highs and lows in rookie season. There's going to be a lot of highs and lows with a new race car. So to be able to give ourselves that type of security this early in the season gives us some flexibility, gives me time to be patient. I think that's the biggest thing because even through testing, I have to remind myself to be patient. And whether if it's the drivers that I'm now competing against or a new situation, I think patience is certainly going to pay off to making sure I don't miss anything throughout the learning process.
Man, kid deserves it. Listen, he's busted his butt.
Yeah. He's working it out. He's working at it. He grew up in it. He had a dream. What kind of, I'm not quite sure what motivations these guys have. I mean, when you've got Penske, as the default grandfather, so to speak, uh, Australian supercars, NASCAR, IndyCar. He doesn't have Formula One. I think he got his fill of that in the Donahue days. But you wonder, he chose NASCAR, but then you've got McLaughlin, who came up, who Penske brought over from Australian supercars, sitting on the pole in a Penske champ car. I mean, a Penske IndyCar.
IndyCar, yeah.
It just kind of, you kind of wonder. I have a feeling Cindric, maybe the father, probably pushed him a little bit towards the NASCAR side for longevity. Otherwise, he would have come up through the ranks of the 2000s or whatever. They could have sent him to Europe, whatever. But he chose NASCAR.
Yeah, and I will say I did hear an interview with, I think I was listening to NASCAR radio on Sirius XM, and they had Tim on talking about the situation with his kid and how he got there and why he was doing what he was doing, and basically that Austin came to him and said, "Hey, Dad," sat down with his, I think he was 11, sat down with his dad and his mother and said, "You know what? I want to go racing, and we need to figure out how we can do this." And they did. And listen, at first they were like, I don't know, our kid racing. Should we let this happen? Should we let him do this? And they were kind of like, maybe it's just a phase. He'll go through it. He just, dad's in the business kind of thing. And no, it's stuck, man. He really wanted to do it and kind of went after his dream. And you heard him talk about that. That's what he likes to do. He likes, to be at the racetrack. He loves being at the garage, looking at the car, helping figure out things, and just studying the races and trying to get better each and every time he gets behind the wheel.
Well,
And that passion goes a long way.
from his father. Let's face it. I mean, his father's not only a strategist, engineer. I mean, manages it in teams. It's like the kid has got an encyclopedia in his father that he can draw upon that information to be able to do what he's doing, and he's doing it very well. I'd venture to say that strategy even played out in the Daytona 500. Don't know about Fontana. Who knows? If the kid can keep it on the track and the tires don't wear out and pop or whatever they're going to do, it's not rubbered in yet. It's just going to take some time for that to happen. That'll be through the race. We'll see. Wouldn't rule Hamlin out, that's for sure. I mean, Hamlin was top in the practice, so I think he was probably taking it easy and just really learning it.
Well, this is he talks about Roger Penske in there, and like you mentioned, his quote unquote grandfather, and he looks up to the man. He's a mentor. Here's Roger Penske talking about Austin Cindric after the Daytona win.
It was really the strategy. It was called by Jeremy putting Austin up on top, and then him coming down and over ahead of Ryan. And we had talked all for weeks after last year when we were 1-2, and we ended up in the fence, I guess you'd have to say. And they played ball, and Austin won. But the cars were good. I think for Ford, for us and the whole Ford group worked really well together. We've worked hard as teams to try to develop a plan. I think it paid off. And if you looked at Austin, this week and the way he ran, he didn't make a mistake today. He was up second, third, almost the entire race, and then at the end to be able to pull it off, which shows you the quality of a kid he is, and also the experience that he already has as a young man. So we're very excited about the win.
But he, listen, they love having the kid there. They think he's an asset to the company. Roger would not put him in. I don't care who his dad was working for the team. Roger would not put him in that number 2 car on the track if he didn't think the kid had it.
No, he wouldn't. I mean, Penske is very dogmatic, very pragmatic about the way he goes about things. And I think that once you've learned how to win, then you're going to do it again. It's a huge, I mean, think about horse racing. The horses that win, they win by what? Split seconds, hundredths of a second. But once it takes place with a driver and you've learned how to win, you've gotten that taste, then you can repeat it. It's getting to that point. You have a lot of people that end up in second place. They're right there, but they're in second place. Once they've learned how to win, that usually changes things, unless you're Valtieri Bottas.
We're talking to Michele Rahal. I'm Rob D'Amico. This is RaceDay Nation. We'll go switch gears. We'll come back to NASCAR in California here in a minute. You mentioned Scott McLaughlin, obviously coming over from V8 Supercars. Team Penske on the pole there, battled with his teammate Will Power and got the pole, man. It was a pretty impressive run. Here's the top starting lineup, the top 10. It's Scott McLaughlin, Will Power, Colton Herta, Rinus VeeKay, Romain Grosjean, Simon Pagenaud, Scott Dixon, Marcus Ericsson, Joseph Newgarden, and Alex Palou. Alex, I love that kid, the fire he's got. But this is really cool to see Scott, because Scott was used to starting in the back last year and it was frustrated. And they did a lot of work over the offseason to get where he's at. And listen, they put in a lot of time, and obviously it's paid off, man. And I love this. This is a great story. You ever watch those guys in the V8 Supercars?
They are animals.
Absolutely. They're monsters
They are
out
nose to tail animals. I mean, and that's what it takes. It takes super competition. It doesn't matter whether it's closed wheel or open wheel. If it was, the difference is they're both road racing. And that does make a difference. Going from just ovals and round track in a heavy car and jumping into an open wheel, that's a different story. But if you're road racing and you're in competition that close, it becomes a matter of what changes do I need to make to adapt to open wheel. Yeah, I mean, the competition is there. But he knows what it's like to compete at a very high level. 3-time supercar champion. I mean, Penske wouldn't have bought a team. He wouldn't be operating a team in Australia if it wasn't a top dog series, and it is.
Oh, yeah. I mean, seriously, what they do in V8 supercars, what they can do with those cars is totally amazing. Now, how they drive them is a whole nother thing. I'm like, I don't even know if Scott is going to be able to, they're used to road racing, right? So now you have the walls, and he's had some experience with that, obviously with last year and coming in the sport. But here he is going to be throwing that thing around on St. Pete, a street course where there's not much room out there. The good thing
I can tell you from experience, there's no room.
Yeah. He did say the one thing he's got for him this year is he starts from the front and he doesn't have to worry about, being in traffic in the back and trying to work his way up. The only thing he had concern about is when I should be braking, because now I don't have cars in front of me.
Exactly. And he's right about that. I mean, when you're, if you're up front and you're working at that level, you really, really have to be close enough to that person in front of you to know where they're braking.
Yeah.
And that can be disaster.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a driver in Long Beach, Jonathan Clues, and he was coming up. He was behind somebody and measuring his braking, and just made that. I think the person in front of him just broke too early and ripped all the wheels off of Jonathan's car. It was a disaster, but Jonathan's leading the race, and next thing you know, boom, he's out. And that's what happens. So you've got to really judge them, because people look at these on television and they go, they look so far away. They're not. That's an illusion of the camera. They're actually closer than you think. And when they hit those brakes, it's like, whoosh, you're right on them. I mean, it stuns you almost. Now, first time it happens.
You raced back there. What year was that?
Oh, please, you really gonna?
No, I'm not setting you up for anything.
86.
So 86. Was it similar to the course they have now? Was it a little bit different?
No, it's different. It was
Yeah.
different. It was similar in that the start finish line and all that was similar. Couple of spots are the same, but yeah, they changed it around. The first one in '85 was a nightmare. The turnaround at the marina
Yeah.
was so
Oh,
tight.
yeah, that's right. They went down the pier.
It was absurd. I literally had to go to first gear, and it was like redoing a standing start. You'd try to turn the car, and then you would just wah 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 and dump the clutch just to rotate it and get it around. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah. Cool
There were a
idea. It
number
just
of
didn't
people
work
that
out.
literally had to reverse.
Yeah.
The
Yeah. I
Trans
remember
Am
that.
guys, remember that?
Yeah.
Willie T.
Yeah.
Ribs.
How did you get your horse to go backwards like that? Sorry, there was a setup there, I guess.
I hate horses.
Oh,
I
they love
got
you.
bitten by one. I mean, to all the horse lovers out there, God bless you. They're beautiful animals, but getting bitten by a horse, that did it for me.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody tell me they got bit by a horse.
Well, I nailed him right in the mouth.
He looked at you like, "Oh yeah, buddy."
Like it really hurt him. Broke my hand,
Yeah,
practically.
yeah, exactly. All right. Hey, I wanted to make mention. You were talking about cars on track, and during qualifying, they had an incident where Grosjean went and hit Sato
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they were trying to gap everybody. And
That's a
listen,
problem.
that is a huge problem. And I got
F1 and IndyCar.
in what
F1
F1
and IndyCar.
Yeah.
These and I've got to, I literally put that in the notes. The gapping is a problem, and they're going to have to deal with it, address it somehow, because sometimes these are blind corners that lead out onto a long straightaway, and you're trying to get a gap so that you can really, put in a lap without traffic in front of you. But then a car comes at speed, and all of a sudden, boom, there they are. You slam right into them. So I don't, was it Sato's fault? Was it whose fault was it? It's gapping. I mean, when they allow that to happen, there should be certain places, I think, that they will allow some gapping so that they can be out of the racing line. When these other cars are coming from behind and they don't know they're coming up on these really slow moving cars.
Oh, and there are a few of them, and that's what Sato was mad about. I'm going to play this. This is off of Twitter, off of the IndyCar Twitter. I want to make sure you can see this here. But
boy, this has been an eventful practice session, hasn't it? Taku involved in that one with Grosjean a moment ago. What was your take on what happened?
Well, it was a shame, isn't it?
You know,
I mean,
I can't
everybody
hear the
trying
audio
to make a gap, which is the right things. I mean, okay, nobody wants to have that situation, but we were just slowing down,
Michele,
and
can you hear that
I had
audio?
to hit the brake. After I, coming through the 9A, which is a little kink, it still have nearly half mile. You can see it, cars slowing down, so I slowing down. So did Conaderi behind me, and Grosjean coming hot. I don't know what he was thinking. He was reckless at right beginning in the morning, hit the Castroneves on the outlap, on a very installation lap already. I don't know what was he thinking. I mean, he could clearly see the cars on double wide and very strong. I don't know, it's just, I don't know, I can't understand.
How helpless is that feeling? Did you know something was coming, or did you have no idea he was coming that quick?
See, he coming hot, but I had a car in front and a car in the left too, so I couldn't go anywhere. And I didn't want to intentionally hit in front to avoid it, so nothing we could do. This is only practice. This is only third out lap after the yellow. There's just no point to coming hot like that. And we lost the entire time, and I didn't even get the red tire on, so it's a shame.
What a helpless feeling for Taku. Cars back out on the track.
Well, there you can see it's obviously a very serious problem.
That they had plenty of room, and Grosjean was just hot. He didn't. I mean, it's that closing in on the car that's in front of you. Again, people don't realize how fast you're really going and how slow the car in front of you is, and it was. I'd have to say that was Grosjean's fault.
I mean, it's a serious problem. I do agree that these guys, they need to figure out what they're doing with the gapping, because that is a dangerous situation, especially on a track like that where you are carrying a lot of speed. And listen, Grosjean could not. There's no way. Even if he, okay, they're starting to slow down, I'll start to brake. I don't think he would have made it hard on the brakes. I mean, you could see that he was trying to brake and slow the car down. It just didn't work out. And I think
Well,
Sato and him
they
are,
were going into a corner, right?
yes.
Okay, so they're going into a corner and they're going a lot slower than they normally would, but him being as far back and going as fast as he was, it was a misjudgment.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he had a lot of room to see, but he couldn't judge the speed they were going. I can see it. Again, let's get these cars. I mean, from Formula One to IndyCar to anybody that's trying to, get a clean lap, and they're trying to pull, get a gap, get them off the racing line. That, I hate the idea of everything being over-regulated, but the truth of the matter is, if you don't regulate some things like banking and all the rest of the things that go on in the world, if you don't regulate some of these things, disaster can happen. The difference is people die when mistakes are made, and
Totally.
it's not hard to die in a racing car. It's just that little tiny thing that makes a difference. So,
Michele, go ahead. I'm sorry, Michele.
no, I really didn't have anything to say. I was just doing an old man thing.
It
Get
happens,
off
right?
of my lawn, you little bastards.
Are you sitting like the windows in front of you so you can keep an eye on everybody out there?
Yeah.
Keep your dog off my lawn.
Don't you do it.
Don't do it. All right, he's Michele Rahal. I'm Rob D'Amico. We're going to take a break. It's only 30 seconds. We'll hear from one of our sponsors. But when we come back, we're going to be talking a little IndyCar, but a little F1, because one name, Andretti, and we're going to get into that next. Stick around. This is Race Day. Place where fire and flavor are celebrated, where grilling traditions and new techniques are perfected. Here in Big Green Egg Country, you can grill it, roast it, smoke it, or bake it. It's the most versatile grill you'll ever own. Simple to light, easy to use, comes with a free lifetime warranty. Have it delivered to your door by a certified dealer in your community and start enjoying the ultimate cooking experience. Shop online for home delivery at biggreenegg.com. That's biggreenegg.com. That guy's voice is very soothing. I like it.
You like that?
Yes, he's a good guy. I can tell.
Your wife's sick of it.
She is. All right. Welcome back to Race Day Nation. I'm Rob D'Amico. And again, it's Michele and I doing the show again. We took a 10-year hiatus. We used to do Race Day on Fox. We started doing the video casting, all that stuff in the past, kind of well before the time that everybody was doing it, way before a pandemic where everybody had to do it.
Yeah.
And here we are, we're back at it, doing it again and having a blast. And we are going to take calls, and we're going to take questions and answers once we start going live. That's not the case right now because we just want to we're using new systems. We're doing different things. We're in two different locations. Him and I used to sit next to each other. Not the case now, but technology helps that out. And I think it still delivers a great show for you, the fans. And I hope you guys are excited as much
Well,
as
that
we
all
are.
ended when you put your hand on my leg. I mean, that was like,
Awkward.
Come on.
Awkward. All right. But you can go to our website, sign up for our newsletter. We have like 6 other podcasts on there you can do. We have news feeds from Racer, Motorsport, J-Ski, all that great stuff. So please log on to the website, Race Day Nations, where you're going to see the podcast there as well. If you haven't, you can do the video version or the audio version, which is really cool. So you can take it wherever you go and wherever you need it. So we were talking about before the break, Andretti. The big news coming out this week is that everything has been, I guess, submitted. Is that a good word?
He filed with the FIA, which has a timestamp on it. Apparently, excuse me, it's a 30 days, 60 days, I'm not sure which, but he filed and he's expecting an answer immediately. Come on, get on with it. Alpine, or Alpine as we say, they have now a formal agreement to supply engines to Andretti Global. And they've already got land, property, everything in England ready to rock and roll. So if the FIA, and here's the big issue, it's every time a new team comes in, it dilutes down the amount of money that the rest of the teams can get. That's what that 200 million is for, that they have to pay as an entry fee to get in, is to offset that dilution of what monies that the other teams, might get. That to me is a pitiful excuse at the moment when F1 is on the rise. 11 teams and it's going to hurt a damn thing. It's going to just make it more exciting as far as I'm concerned. I think Andretti is a global name. He's tried to buy Haas. Gene's turned him down like 3 times. Gene is in a pickle right now. I don't care what Gunther Steiner says, which is the team principal. We're okay. But the fact is, and a lot of people I don't think really realize this, is that the Haas car is backed by a Russian oligarch, and that is Mazepin's father. And Mazepin's father owns, I think the company's name is Ukulele. It's Ukulele, I believe. Well, the bad part of that is Mazepin's dad is a big buddy of Putin, and one of the board members of that company is also on some committee for Putin. That's got to go away. I mean, the whole thing's got to go away. Mazepin himself has probably lost his ride. Pietro Fittipaldi has been, selected to take his place if they decide. They're going to decide, let's face it. But Ferrari wants Antonio Giovinazzi, who got dropped in favor of the Chinese driver Zhu at Alfa Romeo. But the Ferrari people want Giovinazzi in that Haas, so Fittipaldi will get screwed. It's a Ferrari engines. You can't. The whole thing with Barcelona, it was a shakedown. It's not a test. It's to make sure the damn cars run, and don't explode and don't go, fall apart and whatever the problems that you're going to run into.
Well,
the real test.
Ferrari, real quick, was really testing that this week with that porpoising car that they had. It was bumping like crazy, which was.
They may have fixed that. The biggest problem with that are the tires. I mean, the actual 18-inch tires. And I knew that you have to literally develop a racing car from the tires up. Remember, they were 13-inch rims. So they had a huge space on the tire itself, a lot. They weren't low profile, they were high profile. That was actually part of the suspension.
Yeah.
I mean, that literally, if you watched it in 4K or, the really higher than 4K, you could see these tires, how they move. That's part of the suspension. That was part of the porpoising problem. These 18-inch tires. Some of these, they had the problem back in the 80s when they had full ground effects. They had that same problem. They managed to cure it to some degree. I think that the Porsches, the sports cars that were ground effects, the 956s, I believe, had exactly the same problem, but they got the balance right. They'll work that out. They'll get the balance out.
Real quick, did it have to do with the balance of the downforce is what I was wondering.
Yeah.
So when it got into a
go ahead. When the faster the car goes, it drops down. Once it reaches a certain point, it stalls. That downforce stalls and it bounces it back up, right? So the only way you're going to be able to cure that is either to relieve pressure somehow underneath the car, like you reach a certain poundage and it's like a wastegate on a turbo. It lets some of the pressure off so the thing doesn't go to the ground, keep
What was the
doing
sound
this.
again?
What?
What was that sound again? I think off camera we hear that noise a lot, don't we?
Yeah, the older you get, the more it sounds.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, but seriously, Ferrari's going to fix this thing, no problem. They have time to go back to the shop and figure everything out.
Yeah.
Before they
It's already. I think it's already pretty much done. Will they get it all out? I didn't. You don't know yet. Rumor has it that Mercedes is already in Bahrain.
On my screen, you're frozen, and you should see the position you got going on.
That's great. It's been happening to you too as well. It's pretty funny. Yeah, same thing.
I love the look, by the way.
You mean this one?
All right. He's Michele, Rahal. I'm Rob D'Amico. This is RaceDay Nation. We're talking about Andretti going to sport. I think it's great. You're right. It's a global name. He is going to call it Andretti Global. What impresses me the most is that this guy has Indycar. He's gone, he's done everything. And then F1 is the big boy, and he's raised the money to get to this point, because I think it's like you need to raise like 200 million or something like that.
200 million is just the entry fee.
That's
what you pay the FIA. That's what or F1 in order to prevent the dilution of the monies that are being paid to the rest of the teams on prize money or points money, that type of thing.
Which I think is in the 150 million range, right? If I was reading that correctly.
Well, that's their budget.
Yeah.
That's a team budget. Frankly, at 150, they're going to have to get real creative. But it's like Penske said, you can put all the budget caps you want on anything, but we're going to find another way that you won't even know about to spend that money. And they're going to.
Yeah.
Ferrari, Mercedes, those guys are running on $500 million budgets for a 2-car team.
Yeah. Do
you think with all that technology that they're going to just go 150? Well, I mean, what do you got? Monitors and forensic accountants and all of their business dealings. They funnel this money off into dark sites like the CIA or something, to make things happen and to figure these things out. So that 200 million, that's just a little bit of an entry fee.
Yeah.
I would agree with Toto Wolff, which it just makes me want to puke to want to do that. But to agree with Toto Wolff, it's about $1 billion is what it takes. If you want to go F1, you better show up to the party with $1 billion in your pocket.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing.
That's crazy. It really is. But, what Andretti's been able to do, trying to get to F1 and, it's been on again, off again rumors that it can happen. And then Mario sent out that tweet last week saying, hey, it's been filed. Basically all ducks are in a row here. We're ready to do this. And we'll see what happens. When are we supposed to know? When will we have an answer? Is that
I think by the middle of March.
Yeah.
And if I'm sure they're doing this. Gene Haas has rejected him like 3 times. And Haas made the statement that he knows he's running around at the back. It's not that big a deal because it's doing what he wanted it to do. His CNC machines are being sold all over the world. He's making money off of this.
Yes.
So that's why they're saying they're not financially, they don't need it financially. But the truth of the matter is, Gene's still a competitor. If Andretti approached him with a partnership or something, but Andretti wants to control. And I'm not sure, Steiner is in the middle of this. I'm not sure what Steiner's deal is. And Gunther Steiner is one of the funniest, most abrasive people, but he's hilarious. If you've seen him on that Netflix show, Drive to Survive, that guy comes out with some of the funny as crap. He could be a stand-up comic.
Yeah, I was watching that the other night. I was also going through, not to change the subject here, but I was also going through Netflix and found Bubba Wallace's Racer or Race.
Yeah, yeah.
Bubba Wallace. It was pretty good. You know,
Is it?
I
I
always
haven't
feel,
watched it.
I always feel like the coverage he gets is because of the color of his skin, which I think is a little, it's over the top because, and I know, listen, they're trying to diversify and they're trying to, you know, open and be equal. And I get all that. I really do. My problem is that they're covering them, you know, mid pack in the back of the field. And you don't give other guys that opportunity either. You know what I
No,
mean? It's like,
it's
get him in the front and get him, make it legit. And then, you know, I don't see there being an issue, but
he's beginning to come good. I mean, let's
oh,
face it. He's seventh. He qualified seventh for Fontana.
yeah, I do agree that
He almost won the Daytona 500. He was
almost,
damn close.
yeah.
And my cousin Sean raced against him coming up through the ranks. He and beat him almost virtually every time.
Yeah. I will say
Sometimes it takes time to get where you need to be, you know, but he had the backing and he was able to do it, and hats off to him.
listen,
I don't care what color the guy is. I don't care.
I don't either.
I don't care.
I don't.
Can you drive a
not a
racing
guy.
car? Can you drive a racing car?
That's
Are you
right.
fast? I mean, can you make it? If it's a woman, look at Calderon. I mean, she had Tatiana Calderon from Colombia. I feel for her. I mean, you know, she's hasn't raced a ton
Yeah.
of cars of this caliber. So she's 24th at St. Pete. She got, you know, this is her shot, right?
Hey, she beat Jimmy Johnson.
She beat Jimmy Johnson. He's last.
I feel bad for the guy.
I
Really,
feel
we're
terrible
joking,
for
but
Jimmy.
seriously.
But, I mean, you know, the guy that just shows you the disparity between the series and the skill sets that it takes.
Absolutely.
It's grown much greater. The days are, you know, that's why Alonso wanted so badly to be able to win Le Mans, the Indy 500, and have a world championship. He wanted to be known as a complete driver. Those days are, that door is shutting, man. That window is
Agreed.
shut. The AJ Foyts of the world there anymore. It's just not there.
Yeah, and it's quite sad, to be honest with you. I'd love, you know, and that's another thing. Look at Jimmy Johnson, and I'm sure they're going to be talking about Jimmy Johnson in this race. He's a 7-time NASCAR champion, you know, the crossover between sports, but it's not really warranted because he's 25th and he's the back of the pack. And you know what I mean? It's the same situation. Just, you know, that's what I have a problem with. But listen, they're doing really good things, diversifying and having these. And I wish there was a day where we could be doing the 500 and the 600 on the same day and having those drivers do all that. It's just gotten so difficult to do, like you mentioned, or even a guy like Mario winning in F1, NASCAR, Indycar, you know, just
it's
amazing
just not
talent.
there anymore.
Yeah,
it's so specialized. It's like being a doctor. I mean, do you want to go to your general practitioner to have a knee replacement? I don't think so. You know, they're specialists, and that's what's happened to the racing world. I mean, the general wisdom or the general line of thinking has normally been, man, if you're fast, if you're a racer, you're a racer. It doesn't matter what you drive.
Yeah.
Well, BS. That's not true. You can be a fantastic driver in sprint cars, and, you know, you jump into an F1 car and you can't even make the 107% rule. It ain't going to happen. It's so competitive, so fast now, so technical. It's just enjoy each sport for what it is, each motorsport for what it is. Don't expect your hero from NASCAR to jump into an F1 car and be great, unless you're Kyle Larson
Yeah.
or somebody at that level.
It would be interesting to see what he could pull off.
It's, the guy is just special. There are some special. He's really special. I mean, there are a lot of people out there. There are a few drivers out there that just seem to have it. It would still take a guy like Larson a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You stick him in a Mercedes, one of the Mercedes F1 cars. He's not gonna pull a George Russell. He's not gonna go out there and lead anything. He might be back there with the Haas gang, much to Gunther's delight.
Yeah. Hey, I want to run down the schedule real quick for F1 because it has been changed.
Oh, yeah.
We all know why and what's going on, but I just want to show you the obviously March 20th, Bahrain kicks off. The 27th is Saudi Arabia, Australia, Italy, and Miami GP is May 8th, which I'm really excited about. I can't wait to see what they do there. Monaco, you have all the normal races, France, Hungary, Belgium. But on September 25th, the Russia GP has been taken off the schedule, and I think we all understand why. Now, my question would be, if there is resolve in the conflict, do we think that would be put back on the schedule, or you think it's off the schedule?
It could come back, but you know what? They're in a dogfight over there. The Russians, I think, miscalculated just how hard the Ukrainians were going to fight.
Yeah.
And it's a terrible thing. I feel terrible for both sides. Okay. It's not like Ukraine was the shining star on the hill. I mean, a very corrupt country, but they are fighting like hell. And you've got these young Russians who've never been in battle. You've got these young Russians who I believe thought they were on some training mission. And all of a sudden, Putin pushes them in there. And so this could drag out. And the biggest problem is it could push over into Poland, into Moldavia, into some of these other countries that actually are NATO members. When that happens, it triggers us.
Yeah.
It triggers NATO. So the whole thing, is it going to come back? Bringing it back to auto racing, I don't think so. At this stage, I think Putin just don't know what's going on in that guy's mind, but $39 billion, I think, was lost the day that he jumped over into Ukraine by the Russian oligarchs, which, of course, every one of them will fall into line, But nonetheless, the race itself, sporting events in general, Russia's radioactive, no pun intended, but, Russia's radioactive right now.
Yeah. So my two dates, May 8th and then October 23rd, with both races being in the U.S. I think that's great for F1. We talked about it on the last show that, that is great for the States and great for F1. And I think it'll be a nice little push for those guys. And listen, there's room in this sport. Like we always say, tides rise all ships, so I think that's going to be one of those things where F1 is successful here. It helps NASCAR, helps Indycar, it helps all forms, IMSA, all forms of racing, which is going to be really cool.
Yeah, because let's not kid ourselves. Formula One has become very popular in the United States.
Yeah.
And you're right. A rising tide does raise all boats. The Daytona 500 was up in their ratings up to 8.8 million. The Super Bowl pulled, I believe, 108 million worldwide viewers. The last race in Formula One at Abu Dhabi, 118 million people worldwide watched that race. Those are huge numbers. But what it does for America is the desire to see F1 has grown now to where America has become a huge market. Based on the Russia thing, I mean, eliminating Russia, they couldn't bring, a third GP into the U.S. at this stage. So what'll take its place is probably one of the European tracks.
I would agree. Listen, if we did have another USGP, in just using the term loosely there, but if we did have another one in the U.S., what city do you see that taking place at?
It would really have to be a city. I'm going to have to almost say Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Only because, you've got to build a track like COTA, and that's ungodly expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, $300 million, and that's a lot of money for a promoter to be able to raise, put out, and then try to get, a date. It's just
plus
really
with Roger owning the track now and different things that are in play, the guy can promote the hell out of anything, right? So coming to the U.S., doing the Indianapolis GP, we've been to that race before, and that's the first time I saw an F1 car.
I'll never forget the look on your face.
Yeah,
I'll never forget it. When we got out of the car, you bolted straight to the fence, and you had your hands like this, and the cars, when they accelerated, I could see it. You were just stunned.
Yeah.
You'd never seen anything like that. I mean, and you got to see, man, you got to see the V8 era anyway. I don't think they were V10s. They might have been the first year V10s, but the sound was just stunning. I mean, and I'll just never forget your face. And the stopping power, you're right.
I get that a lot. Hey, I'll never forget that face.
Yeah. Keep it to yourself.
Yeah. All right, he's Michele.
Anybody
Rahal,
got a bag? Bag table too.
I'm Rob D'Amico. Don't forget, you can follow him on social media at Michele Rahal #9. You can see it there on the screen. Also mine at Rob D'Amico, ROBDAMICO. Appreciate you guys listening to the program. Don't forget, log on to our website to get the latest shows. Plus, we have 6 other shows. We have a little network going, which is really cool. So you got some great content to listen to during the week. So a lot of fun there. Everything from the Writers Podcast. We also have an iRacing podcast, an IndyCar podcast. So we had Down and Dirty, the radio show with Jim Beaver, a great friend of ours. He's got a show on there that's kind of an off-road thing, which is really cool. And then I will say, you've got news feeds from, Racer Magazine, Motorsport, and even J-Ski. So you kind of have the one-stop shop right there. But we do it every week. Well, we will be doing it live. I did post some stuff last night, so I should look to see if we got any questions on that. So I'll look here in a second, but having a lot of fun doing the show. We will do it live. We will get the interaction going. We just want to make sure we got the systems all down and everything's working, and our studios are in play and ready to go. But having a great time. Got some great racing going on today. IndyCar kicking off again. Scott McLaughlin on the pole for Penske, Team Penske there in St. Petersburg, Florida. And I gotta tell you, it's a beautiful set and scenery there. It's almost like a mini Monaco, if you will.
It really is. I mean,
yeah, they have the yachts all parked out there. They have a few smaller boats that are parked out there. Compared.
Do you remember when Elio said to you and I, we were talking to him about getting on Penske's yacht?
I do remember.
And he was like, yeah, I'll get you on the yacht, but we're gonna have to put you in the rowboat behind and tow you.
Yes, that was it. Yeah, that's right.
He's a great guy.
It's just like Monaco, except when you see the ladies in the bikinis and all that, they may be from a trailer park.
That's right. It could be. I just don't ever know.
It's a little different.
It actually is a very beautiful setting. The yachts are gorgeous. I mean, St. Pete is a beautiful, beautiful venue. And it's it's just, it's one of those places where you can be proud of it. I mean, it's in Tampa Bay, the whole Tampa Bay area. It's 3 cities, and so people don't really kind of get it. But we're 20 minutes from St. Pete, 20 minutes from Clearwater. That's nothing. Not hard to get around here.
No, not at all. Not at all. And it is, I've always found it odd that you had 2 cities that close, but now that I've moved up to Atlanta, you kind of see that you have Atlanta, then you have Buckhead, then you have Sandy Springs, and they're all, I can tell you that they are bigger than Tampa, and they're bigger than St.
They're
Pete.
huge. It's huge.
Skyline.
It's insane. And the traffic is insane.
Yes.
I've had many opportunities to move to Atlanta, and I just cannot do it. Couldn't do it.
But yeah, hey, listen, we like it up here. I got a good job. I'm having fun doing this. Very different. But I will say, when you look at the St. Pete race today, you'll be able to tell how beautiful that city has become, because it hasn't always been that way.
No, it hasn't.
No, it has not.
You and I got to see it, evolve. Yes. And it's evolved into something. Tampa Bay is growing like you cannot believe. It is the rent and mortgages here, they're out of sight.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the number 1 area in the country for rent and mortgage increase.
Yeah, it's
for
funny.
Housing prices.
St. Pete, I lived in St. Pete. It was my first house that I personally bought. First house. My first house.
Same
$67,000.
I know. You couldn't buy a portable house for 67 grand.
No, not at all.
The average cost of a house in the Tampa Bay area is somewhere around 400 grand.
You can't even buy a car for that much anymore.
No, have you seen the new Bugatti?
Yeah.
It has a really strange name. I can't remember. Cataluna, whatever the hell is.
That's it.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. Whatever it is, $4.4 million, and they're already sold out.
Isn't that crazy?
It's a limited run, but I mean, that's like insane.
Koenigsegg. Those cars are just outrageous.
Yeah, I've seen one. I met the guy. I did some work for Ferrari, and I met the guy. They're here in Sarasota, I believe. But yeah, it's and he offered to let me come and evaluate one, and I didn't do it.
Really?
Yeah, I should have, but I didn't. That's just the way it goes. Yeah, maybe I thought there was something more important to do. Who the hell knows? But if we can, just build up this show, we've got a lot of material to work with now. The racing is on the rise. I'm not sure when this new Drive to Survive comes out. Is it out yet? The latest?
No. It comes out March. I think March 10th. I think is. I just looked it up, but the new season comes out on March 10th. I can look it up here in a second.
Well, they got a lot to work with on that one. I mean, 2021 was quite the season. So, and I think 2022 is going to be as well. I mean, we don't know anything about who's got what from Barcelona. Really don't. But
premieres March 11th. Sorry.
March 11th. Okay. Well, I'm writing that down because I want to see it. I want to see just how
you just witnessed how old Rahal's getting. He had to write it down.
I have to write everything down. I can't remember.
You saw it here first.
I walk into the kitchen and what the hell did I come in here for? I mean, it happens all the time.
But hey, and then at your age, you get in the kitchen and go, what did I got to pee.
Yeah. There's the sink.
Only at Rahal's house.
Why walk any farther than I have to?
Well, he's Michele Rahal. I'm Rob D'Amico. We really do appreciate you guys watching today. Today's racing on the grid. We do have the NASCAR guys in Fontana for the big race out there, and it should be a decent race. What's going to be really cool to watch is some of these guys. I'll list the top 10 here. Austin Cindric last week's winner at Daytona. Congratulations to him on the pole. Just shows that he's in a fast car and he can get the job done. And we talked about it earlier. That's why Roger Penske put him in that car, not because he has a silver spoon hanging out of his rear end. It's because he can drive a race car. Eric Jones is second. Kyle Busch is third. Denny Hamlin fourth. Daniel Hemrick is fifth. Ryan Blaney sixth. Joey Logano, Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, and William Byron are your starting top 10 there. And it'll be impressive to see these guys racing in race conditions because they struggled in practice with those loose race cars and trying to get a handle on how this new car is performing on this track.
And the veterans really struggled. I mean, that's what I found unusual. You've got what? You've got God in heaven, what's his name? Starting at the back, there's about 4 drivers, 4 or 5 that crashed that are starting.
It was the guys who crashed. Well, yeah, Kurt Busch didn't pass post qualifying
3 times.
Yeah, 3. I'm sorry, pre-qualifying inspection. Then you had Chase Elliott who spun, William Byron, Joey Logano actually hit the wall. Brad Keselowski, he spun it in turn 2.
Harvick
had to
as
be
well.
Towed back.
Yeah, they've all got to go to the back.
Yeah,
but I think they've penalized Busch.
Kurt.
Yeah, they penalized him 3 times. I mean, come on, 3 times. I mean, these are professionals. You know, I mean, if you're trying to squeak something by, you might as well just bite the bullet and get it. You know, if they've caught you once, fix it.
Yeah,
maybe you won't get a penalty. You know, but 3 times, 3 times you're out.
Yeah, 3 strikes, buddy. And then we have IndyCar racing in the streets of St. Pete. That'll be an exciting race. Like we mentioned, beautiful scenery there. They always put on a great show. It's very hard to pass at this racetrack. There are only a few spots where you can make up ground.
The start's going to be a barn burner. You got Will Power sitting right next to him. Will Power does not want to be beaten by one of his own countrymen on the same team.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, McLaughlin's going to have his hands full. But by the same token, McLaughlin running supercars, he's nobody to be afraid. He's not going to back off, not going to back down.
Even if there isn't fenders, he's still not going to back off.
Oh, can you imagine if the 2 of those take each other out, the conversation Penske will have?
Oh, yeah. It'd be like, listen, buddy, we got
I've been a little sign on one of them, sign on it, and it says, wipe your feet or don't come in. It's unbelievable.
And it's serious.
Oh, it's dead. Doubt. He's dead serious.
So the starting lineup looks like this. Scott McLaughlin, we talked about it, and Will Power, teammates there on the front row. Colton Herta, Rinus VeeKay, Romain Grosjean, Simon Pagenaud, Scott Dixon, Marcus Ericsson, Joseph Newgarden, and Alex Palou round out your top 10 in the starting positions for today's race in the streets of St. Petersburg. So some great stuff. We'll keep up on the the Andretti going to F1. If anything breaks there, we'll talk about that as well on our next show. I think that's pretty much it. What I had on my notes here. Oh, I know what I wanted to make mention. You brought it up, how hard it is to drive at Auto Club Speedway. And these guys crashing in practice and spinning the car. Here's a Mark Martin tweet. I'm reading this as a quote here. It says, watching these guys spin out trying to qualify is what driving in NASCAR is all about. He's got the applauding hands 3 times. Cup cars should be one of the hardest cars to drive in motorsports. As a driver, if you want to succeed in Cup, you better pack your lunch. And what he's saying is it's hard work. You're going to be there. And I think that's cool because these guys should be the top drivers.
It is. It's incredibly hard. These guys are pushing. I mean, they're on the verge of crashing every second. Every second. I mean, the cars don't handle, even in Formula One, those cars, they are at the absolute edge of ability. Of both equipment and the ability of a person to be able to make decisions at that kind of speed. It's just nothing like it. The IndyCar is much harder to drive, which is a good thing. You notice that Formula One is going to a much harder to drive car. There's a reason for that. You only want the best drivers in there. Unfortunately, times have not changed, and pay to play seems to rule the day. I mean, when you've got Zhu and the Chinese government, or the CCP, the Communist Chinese Party, backing him, it's pretty hard to turn down the multi millions that they're throwing at Alfa Romeo.
Yeah.
And he did spin more than once, in at Barcelona. So, but the kid is good. In F2, he was really good. Doesn't mean you're going to be really good in F1, because you got to be able to adapt. And we'll see.
Real quick, before we head out, in IndyCar, I want to make mention, we were talking about how great that place is and what it looks like. After the race, there's a thing called Party in the Park, which is really cool. It's down by the pier right there. You can't miss it. It'll be a cool party, fireworks afterwards. I'm hoping I see enough fireworks in the race, but, a little fireworks after doesn't hurt either.
That was hilarious. You said myth it.
I said what?
Myth it.
Myth it?
Yeah, you did it, Mike Tyson.
Maybe I've taken too many blows to the head. I don't know, man. Also, Steve Phelps in NASCAR mentioned about the new TV deal coming into play.
Yes.
So they're already talking that, because in 2024, the new deal will have to be put in place. And again, I think you're still looking at the players. Is it Fox and NBC? Can somebody else step in? Is there an ABC? Maybe that comes into this, a CBS. I don't know. Those are your top four. But I will say digital will be a big part of that, because like we're seeing an IndyCar right now with NBC and Peacock going back and forth between those. And then NBC with USA. You have Fox with Tubi. I think they own Tubi. They have some online properties as well. They've been doing some stuff with Fox Nation, things like that. But I'd look for, he's saying an 8 to 10 year deal. I don't know if they'll put that long term of the deal together.
Yeah, because you really don't know what's going to take place. I mean, the technology is moving so rapidly, with virtual reality, augmented reality. It's to do a 10-year deal would be, I would think, insane, really. I mean, the money talks, but you'd certainly have to be malleable to be able to adjust to the technologies as they move along and be willing to do it.
Yeah, that's why I don't know if I see that 8 to 10 year deal happening, but we'll see how it all plays out. We got a couple years before that big announcement is made. All right. He's Michele Rahal. I'm Rob D'Amico. Again, our website is RaceDay Nation. We have an email blast. We have 6-7 other podcasts on there. We have news feeds. It's kind of your one-stop shopping, if you will, everything racing. And we're back at it, doing it again each and every week. And we'll get where we're going to be live, and we'll do that live from 8 to 10. I know right now you're watching the show and it's a little bit later in the morning, but that's okay, because eventually we will be doing it live, and you guys can join the program that way as well. Michele, great stuff. Anything else before we head out here?
Nope, not a thing. I'm just waiting to see what's going to happen at St. Pete. Let's see what goes on at St. Pete. And I will tune in to Fontana to see who actually gets it.
Keeps
and
it on
who
the track.
doesn't. Yeah, because that one could be, whereas the Daytona 500 had fewer crashes, Fontana may make up for it.
All right. He's Michele Rahal. I'm Rob D'Amico. Don't forget, where can they follow you on social media, Michele?
They can follow me at Michele Rahal 9 on Instagram, or Michele Rahal on Facebook.
We also have a at RaceDay Nation, Instagram, Facebook, all that great stuff, Twitter. You can also follow me, Rob D'Amico, ROBDAMICO, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter as well. We appreciate you guys following along, visiting us on the web at RaceDayNation.com. We'll see you next week right back here. So thank you, and hope you enjoy your race day. We'll see you later.